Well, good morning, St. John's. And Merry Christmas, because it is still Christmas. It's the 12th day of Christmas. More on that later. But a couple little personal things to tell you. Number one, Mother Leslie over the Christmas break had a minor procedure as part of her ongoing treatment. She's doing great, but she's at home, and we hope to have her back with us very soon. Number two, one of y'all gave me some terrible cold or something on Christmas Eve as I was going down the rail giving communion to the thousands and thousands of people. And y'all were just, I thought, this is not going to end well. And it didn't. Every time anybody's ever told me they have a sinus infection, I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. Y'all, they can get bad. I tell you all of this because I ruptured my eardrum as a result of it. I cannot hear out of this ear. It's like constant ringing. So I don't know if you're laughing or not at some of the things I'm saying, but I'm telling you this not to elicit your pity, but seriously just to tell you, like, your priest cannot hear you right now. They say it should heal in about 6 to 8 weeks, but if we're in conversations, especially in noisy places like offering, and I'm just nodding and smiling and being polite, I don't know what you're saying, and I'm sorry. So just bear with me, because it's a strange experience. But here we go. I'm gonna do my thing. Many years ago, the big Christmas gift for my son Dean was his very first bicycle. And those of you who have ever had a bicycle, or those of you who have been parents who have given a bicycle, you know what that's like. It's a rite of passage. And before too long, I found myself out in the street doing the thing that dads do over and over and over. I ran alongside my kid, gripping the back of the bicycle seat, keeping him steady, cheering him on, pushing him on his way, and saying over and over and over, you got to keep pedaling, you got to keep going, you got to stay in motion. And then one day, after all the tumbles and all the falls, you know what happened. He kept pedaling, and he kept going, and he stayed in motion. And in that moment, I mean, it was so small. My babies were so small, and I'm sure in that moment, he was filled with pure exhilaration. And yet I stood there with him like receding into the horizon, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? It was the first moment that I felt my first child leaving me, you know? I mean, God, wait till college comes. And so I just spent weeks telling this kid to go, go, go. And then I thought, oh, no. Please be safe. Please be okay. Please come back. And that's a feeling that stays with us parents, I think, maybe for the rest of our lives. The truth is that growing up is hard, not just for kids, but for grown-ups too. We push them to grow up, and then, golly, to our dismay, they do. And that means that we, as parents, have to grow up too. In a lot of ways, that is the story at the heart of our gospel today. At this point, Jesus has grown up a little bit. He and Mary and Joseph, along with all the people in all the towns all around Jerusalem, have made the days-long trek to attend the Passover feast. But as the caravan makes its way back home, Mary and Joseph look around and they realize that Jesus is not with them. In the immortal words of that great movie, "O Brother, Where Art Thou?" Jesus has up and RUNNOFT. But you know the story. You know that they go back, and there Joseph and Mary find Jesus sitting among the temple elders, listening, learning, conversing. "Son," Mary says, "what were you thinking? Don't you know you nearly gave us a heart attack?" Mary, like any good parent, had put herself at the center of her child's universe. "No, Mom," he seems to say, "I'm following a different star now. There's a different star at the center of my universe. Did you not know that I must be about my Father's business?" That had to be heartache for Mary. It says at the end of today's gospel reading that she pondered or treasured all these things in our heart. But if you've ever been a parent, or heck, if you've ever loved anyone ever before, you know that pondering and treasuring can feel a lot like heartache too. It's all of a piece. It's one thing to see your kid pedal off on their new bike, but poor Mary, it's another thing entirely to realize that your kid knows that you know that he knows that you know that he knows that you know that he knows that he is the Son of God. The thing is, y'all, as we wind down the Christmas season here on the 12th day and move our hearts and minds toward all that must be dealt with in the year to come, none of this is actually about Jesus growing up. It's about Mary growing up. It's about Joseph growing up. It's about all of us who love Jesus growing up a little more too. Whether we like it or not, children force their parents to grow up and to see the world differently in ways they might not have expected. Children force their parents to re-examine their worldview, their values, their assumptions, their hopes and fears, their certainties and beliefs. That's what Jesus does to Mary today, but it's what he does to all of us all the time. Today, Jesus grows us up, and the truth is, we need it. I'm not much for New Year's resolutions, but I do believe in growing and changing in this Christian life. So how is Jesus pushing you, forcing you to grow up this year? Maybe it's an old idea, an old habit, an old way of understanding, an old way of living. Maybe it's a story you've been telling yourself about who you're supposed to be or who you aren't. Maybe it's finally time to speak up. Maybe it's finally time to pipe down. Maybe it's something that was right and good for a time, but now needs to be relinquished, relented, repented, so something new can come in. What is it? What is the thing at the center of your universe that no longer needs to be there? And how will you let it go? Today, Jesus shows us that no matter who you are, no matter how old or young, whether parent or child, growing up is hard to do. Yet he does it, and so must we. So perhaps the truth of this day really does actually lie somewhere in the lessons learned between parents and kids and bicycle wheels. The truth that Jesus shows us today is that in this life, you got to keep pedaling. You got to keep going. You got to stay in motion. And sometimes, usually before you think you're even really ready, you got to let go. But the grace of it all is that the one who was once a child is still about his Father's business, and he still has his eye on you. So hold on tight and enjoy the ride. Amen.